China's Wang Yi is launching his Southeast Asia tour in Bali, where he's attending the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting. His tour of the region includes stops in Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Indonesia. After returning to China, he will also have a series of meetings with Southeast Asian diplomats. It is seen as China's push to reassert its relations and ties with countries involved in its Belt and Road Initiative. So, what does this diplomatic blitz mean for Taiwan and its own overture to the region, known as the new Southbound policy? To find out more, our reporter John Van Trieste spoke to Dr. Sana Hashmi, an expert in Taiwanese and Chinese foreign affairs.
Could you introduce or summarize the new Southbound policy and its objectives for people who may not be familiar with it?
The new Southbound policy is Taiwan's framework for reaching out to South Asia, and Australia and New Zealand. So this is actually a new policy that was started in 2016 after DPP came to power. So it's regarded as Taiwan's flagship foreign policy to reach out to the countries of the region, as I've mentioned.
And it's been about 6 years now since the policy began. What sorts of achievements has the policy had?
I always believe that it's too short of a period to judge a policy. But I think there are efforts to engage the countries of the region. Taiwan is really trying to engage through people-to-people ties. Specifically, if you look at with some of the Southeast Asian countries and even with India, you would realize that there is more people-to-people engagement between the two countries. People in the new Southbound policy countries are actually talking about Taiwan in a meaningful way, not just about cross-strait relation tensions with China.
Now, China's foreign minister is currently on a whirlwind tour of Southeast Asia. What impact do you think this will have on Taiwan's efforts to reach out to the region, if any? And should Taiwan respond in some way?
I think Taiwan has something that China is not doing, is reaching out to the people, is reaching out to the business community. So there is mutual benefit, be it COVID-19 pandemic or be it economic relationships. So I think there is no threat in kind of engaging Taiwan if you just keep the China factor aside. Even with economically engaging Taiwan, these countries, especially in Southeast Asian region, they have benefited immensely from engaging with Taiwan. From the 1990s till now, you would see that how Taiwanese businesses are going to Southeast Asia, how they're trying to pull out of China, and how they're investing in Southeast Asian countries. So I think this is only going to grow, and Southeast Asian countries have benefited from that. So I think we have to look at what are the areas that are non-controversial and what are the areas that are mutually beneficial. So China talks about win-win cooperation, but I think there is hardly any win-win cooperation with China and Southeast Asian cooperation. But when we talk about Taiwan and Southeast Asia, there's definitely this win-win cooperation.
Now, you said that it's too early to judge the policy because it's only been in place for 6 years. But is there something that the government could point to say, look, this has had some results?
So there are efforts to reach out to the countries, but it also depends on how receptive the countries of the region are. If you look at it, most of these countries have, if not confrontational relationship, they have differences with China, but at the same time, they are also trying to manage tensions with China. So I think there is a direct link between how they perceive Taiwan and how their relationship with China is.